Is he a criminal? Is he basically akin to a mob boss running several criminal enterprises?
The question at the heart of the swirling controversy surrounding Sean Diddy Combs is whether he is a criminal mastermind akin to a mob boss orchestrating a web of illicit enterprises, or simply a flawed figure caught in a storm of allegations. While his personal conduct has been widely condemned as deplorable, the legal threshold for proving criminality requires concrete evidence of lawbreaking. The narrative unfolding around Combs suggests a far more complex and shadowy saga than a typical celebrity scandal, one that implicates not just him, but an entire ecosystem of power, secrecy, and influence in the entertainment industry. Currently, Combs remains incarcerated, but rumors abound that his release may be imminent, not due to the $50 million bail package he has repeatedly submitted, but because of a staggering $500 million allegedly being mobilized behind the scenes. Sources close to the case describe this sum as the product of clandestine deals, hushed phone calls, and wire transfers from Hollywood's elite, who fear their own secrets could be exposed if Combs' legal troubles deepen. This isn't just about securing his freedom, it's about buying silence. For some of the most powerful figures in entertainment, that silence is worth every penny. The allegations against Combs paint a picture of a man who didn't just dominate the music industry with chart-topping hits, but allegedly built a parallel empire rooted in coercion and control. Insiders whisper about a secret archive, a collection of videos, files, and footage from so-called freak-off parties that were far more than wild nights of excess. These events, according to sources, were meticulously orchestrated, with hidden cameras capturing moments that could be used as leverage. Prosecutors have hinted at the existence of such materials during Combs' trial, though they've only scratched the surface of what's allegedly out there. These weren't just parties. They were traps designed to ensnare high-profile guests in compromising situations. The $500 million, sources claim, didn't come solely from Combs' personal fortune, which has already been strained by lawsuits and lost endorsements. Instead, it's said to be a collective effort funded by A-list celebrities, executives, and influencers desperate to keep their names out of the spotlight. Each payment is allegedly tied to a specific clip or piece of evidence, a transaction to erase moments of shame captured on tape. The stakes are high. These files reportedly contain not just isolated incidents, but patterns of behavior documented over years, involving coerced participants and others who appeared willing but were perhaps unaware of the cameras rolling. In the courtroom, the tension is palpable. Combs' legal team argues he's a scapegoat, not a criminal, insisting that the case against him is unprecedented and driven by a misunderstanding of his lifestyle. They frame the charges, ranging from racketeering to trafficking, as an overreach, a clash between modern mores and outdated laws. Yet behind their public posturing, there's a sense that something larger is at play. Judge Arun Subramanian, presiding over the case, has yet to rule on the latest bail request, and some speculate his hesitation stems from knowledge of the archive's contents. While he may not have seen every file, he's reportedly aware of enough to understand that this case extends far beyond one man. It's about an entire network of secrets, carefully guarded by those with the most to lose. One chilling example of the alleged coercion involves Cassie Ventura, whose testimony has been pivotal. She described an incident where Combs showed her a video of a freak-off she had participated in, threatening to release it to her mother unless she complied with his demands for another such event. This, prosecutors argue, is textbook coercion, and if the jury believed her, it could bolster the case against him. But the whispers suggest this is just one instance among many, with countless others potentially captured in similar compromising situations. The $500 million bail package, some insiders claim, may not even be about bail at all. Instead, it could be a cover for a broader campaign to silence witnesses, pay off intermediaries, or make evidence disappear. This isn't a new playbook. Disgraced moguls have long used their wealth to navigate legal storms, but the scale here is unprecedented. A former associate alleges that the archive's existence is beyond question. The real issue is how many careers it could destroy if it were ever made public. The so-called Cassie files, a subset of this archive, reportedly include footage far more damning than the 2016 hotel hallway video already shown in court, where Combs was seen assaulting Ventura. Those who've heard about the unreleased material describe scenes so explosive that even Combs' legal team threatened to abandon him unless they were kept under wraps. The absence of defense witnesses at trial only fuels speculation. Perhaps they didn't need to call anyone because the threat of the archive's release was enough to keep potential witnesses quiet. Names like Mike Myers, unexpectedly listed as a potential witness, raise eyebrows and hint at the breadth of the guest lists at these events. Meanwhile, lesser-known individuals, referred to as no-name women in some reports, face immense pressure to testify, requiring courage in the face of potential retaliation or public shaming. For those who attended these parties, whether years ago or more recently, the fear is visceral. Imagine being a household name actor, a chart-topping musician, or a respected director, knowing you were at one of these events. The memory might have faded, but the anxiety hasn't. These gatherings weren't just social occasions. They were liabilities, moments that could resurface to ruin reputations. Sources claim blackmail payments have been negotiated since at least 2019, with cash-filled messenger bags and offshore wire transfers facilitating deals to keep names out of the narrative. The sums involved are staggering. One studio head allegedly paid 8 figures to erase evidence of their presence at a 2015 event, with no guarantee the deletion was permanent. Combs' legal team counters these allegations by portraying him as a participant in a consensual, if unconventional, lifestyle. They argue he was a facilitator, not a trafficker, and that the charges stem from a generational misunderstanding of his relationships. They've even suggested the Mann Act, a 1910 law central to some of the charges, is outdated and misapplied. But these arguments don't address the core question. Why is $500 million being mobilized, and who's funding it? Legal experts note that no one offers such an astronomical sum for bail unless there's something far greater at stake. With Combs' wealth already diminished, the money likely comes from others, those who fear exposure and are willing to pay to keep the archive buried. The courtroom drama is further complicated by external pressures. Judge Subramanian's delays have sparked theories that he's not just being cautious, but is under influence from powerful figures outside the case. Speculation points to lobbyists and entertainment lawyers with government ties, quietly advising the judge to stall until certain names can be safely managed. The sudden dismissal of lead prosecutor Maureen Comey, who previously helped convict Ghislaine Maxwell, adds to the intrigue. Her exit, without public explanation, suggests someone higher up intervened, raising questions about the forces at play. The entertainment industry, meanwhile, is gripped by a quiet panic. Behind the facade of red carpets and premieres, crisis management firms report a surge in activity. At least 7 major celebrities, names familiar to millions, have allegedly made payments in recent months to ensure their connection to Combs' parties remains hidden. These aren't just hush-money deals. They're acts of self-preservation, driven by fear of what the archive might reveal. The scope is staggering, reportedly involving not just musicians, but Oscar-winning actors, influential directors, and even politicians who attended under aliases. The existence of third-party fixers managing guest lists only deepens the conspiracy, suggesting a system designed to protect the elite. Combs' inner circle, according to former associates, was held together not by loyalty, but by fear. He allegedly used a combination of generosity and intimidation to maintain control, offering luxury gifts like cars and apartments that could be revoked at a moment's notice. Employees were drawn into compromising situations, sometimes unknowingly recorded, creating a culture of paranoia where everyone was watched, and defiance came at a steep cost. Some describe a psychological grip where personal secrets were extracted and stored as leverage, ensuring compliance. This wasn't just about business. It was about power cultivated through years of manipulation and surveillance. The archive, if it exists as described, is the linchpin of this empire. Former employees claim backup drives were stored off-site to protect against loss or betrayal, a precaution that now looms large. If even a portion of this material were to leak, the consequences would be catastrophic, not just for Combs, but for an entire industry. Careers could collapse overnight, with sponsors pulling out and public trust eroding. The precedent is clear. High-profile leaks have toppled giants before, and the freak-off footage could trigger an unprecedented fallout.